And today we're going to tread the light. We're going to trip the light fantastic. What could be more cheerful and gay than a conversation about entertaining angels, which are basically messengers of light? In A Course in Miracles, we have these beautiful lessons. And in lesson 88, which we covered this past week, it tells us the light has come and that we are under no laws but God's. And when the angels came to Mary and said, "You're going to give birth to Christ," this was an example of both a visitation of light as well as an assurance that she was under no laws but God's. But these examples that we have of visitations of angels can seem, like I mentioned last week, sort of like fairy tales. I'm going to share with you today the theory of A Course in Miracles, and I've kind of left out any personalized stories, but my hope is that you'll find this theory to be applicable in your own life. And then during the conversation, you might share where these theories, these truths are demonstrating in your life or maybe not demonstrating in your life. So here's the theory. Forgiveness saves the world and saves us from the world because we take that which is fearful, that which we want to be unforgiving around, and we make it a friend. And from that vantage point of love, we see a call for love from the innocent, and we simply answer the call for love. This might seem kind of radical to see a call for love from the innocent, especially if the innocent appears to be our enemy. But this is how Christ walked the world. And you might think, sure, Jesus could pray for his enemy even while he was being persecuted. But again, like more fairy tales, because that's not applicable to us mere mortals. I don't know, maybe it is for you. Maybe you've done that. Actually, now I think of it, I've definitely done it. But one example that I have is Viktor Frankl. And he's the author of Man's Search for Meaning. And he was this amazing therapist who was put into a concentration camp. And he had this guard who was holding him captive and treating him in inhumane ways, as, you know, wasn't just him personally, of course. And the guard also had a girlfriend, and he had girlfriend problems. I just love how, like, universal that is too, you know, girlfriend problems. And he knew that Viktor Frankl was a therapist in his previous life. So the guard asked Viktor to help him with his girlfriend problems. And so Viktor helped. He cared for and he counseled this young man. And then when that was over, he went back to being persecuted by him. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? I share this idea with you just in case you think that loving your enemies is not possible. And in a very rudimentary way, we could sum up A Course in Miracles as a giant love song, a song that began before time and continues into eternity. And for this portion of the love song, we have essentially fallen asleep into a dream of duality, but we have this saving grace called free will. And we get to decide if we're going to be an instrument of peace, like St. Francis' prayer suggests. We get to decide if we're going to be in harmony with the love song or if we're going to be in discord with the love song. And when you decide, and if you decide to be in harmony with God's love song, you become a miracle worker and you fulfill your part in God's plan for salvation. Again, salvation might be one of those words we don't use too often. So the definition of it in A Course in Miracles is salvation is a promise made by God that you will find your way to him at last, that you will find your way to love at last. Basically, the title of Marianne Williamson's book, Return to Love, that you'll return to love. But I think that sometimes when we hear this idea of returning to God, that we have only ever thought about returning to God through the pathway of death. So there is a death, it's just the death of the ego. And in the death of the ego, we actually have more life. And we get to the death of the ego and the expansion of life by the sanctification of your sanctuary, which we've been talking about is our mind. And then by listening to the voice of the Holy Spirit and asking, what would love have me do? In the Course, it says, God's word is given to every mind. You're not excluded from this conversation. It's given to every mind which thinks that it has separate thoughts, and it will replace these thoughts of conflict with the thoughts of peace. And so if you will for peace, you will have peace. This section is called The Message of the Crucifixion, which I think is an interesting section, especially since we're moving towards Easter. And it says, remembering the Holy Spirit is the communication link between God and the Father and his separate sons and daughters. If you will listen to his voice, you will know that you can. This is a really radical piece, and I hope that you you contemplate it deeply. It says, if you listen to his voice, you will know that you can neither be hurt or hurt, and that many need your blessing to help them hear this for themselves. If you cannot be hurt, and if you cannot hurt, then who's the villain and who's the victim? If you can't be hurt or hurt, and your job is to bring this blessing to others to help them hear this for themselves, it's not in the way that you think. Like, this isn't, a course of, you don't have to go ring any doorbells and try and sell any Bibles. You don't have to do that. All you have to do is be in the truth. You are the church. You are the temple. Open your heart. Love all the people. That's the best thing that you can do. So how easy is that to do? Well, I guess not too easy because we do want to hold grudges and grievances. And if we hold grudges and grievances, we can't be the church. We can't be the steeple. We become a space of hell. The course, the cliff notes are basically teach only love. And in that section, the message of the crucifixion, one of the statements there is teach only love, for that is what you are. And that is where we have fallen asleep. But you, like Viktor Frankl, have the ability, to trade hell in for heaven. You are an agent of love, and the world is waiting. In this chapter 26, section 9, it's called For They Have Come. And they is capitalized. So who are they? They are the face of Christ and the memory of God. They have come to remind you to wake up. When we speak about entertaining angels, again, simply messengers of light, I want you to include yourself in that equation. I want you to entertain yourself, as a light being. Entertain the idea that you're an agent of light that has come to bless the world. And this section actually verifies that. It says, who is the light of the world except God's son, God's daughter? This then is merely a statement of truth about yourself. It is the opposite of a statement of pride, of arrogance, or self-deception. It doesn't describe the self-concept that you have made, which might sound more like, oh my God, I'm such an idiot. Why did I do that? I'm a day late, dollar short. Like, that's sort of the egoic concept. But this is the truth of who you are. It doesn't refer to any of the characteristics with which you have endowed your idols. It refers to you as you were created by God. It simply states the truth. And in lesson 75, not only this is who you are, but this is what you came for. And then it tells you what you're capable of. It says the light has come. You're healed. You can heal. The light has come. You are saved. You can save. You're at peace. You bring peace wherever you go. Darkness and turmoil and death have disappeared. The light has come. There's a light within you that cannot fail. Of course, we talk about this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. And we talk all about these ideas of light, beautiful. Those are beautiful things. But to embody it, to really allow yourself to recognize, am I going to take this seriously? Am I going to cause another grievance? Or am I going to be willing to let myself be cracked open so that I can be the light? Often we hear, the crack is where the light gets in. Sure, fine, that's great. But also the crack is where the light gets out. Every time you've been cracked, it's given a greater opportunity for you to turn that crucifixion into a resurrection. So think about the moment of light that happened between Viktor Frankl and that guard, and that moment, that helpful moment, that beautiful, helpful moment of him being the light for his brother who was persecuting him in a sea of darkness. Like, what did it have to take for him to see that? That's what his purpose was. No matter how many crucifixions, he was warranted in picking up. In chapter 26, section 9, again, as they said, that they have come, it invites us into contemplating our role, our part in God's plan for salvation, and our return to love. If you're not used to the language of A Course in Miracles, I'm going to read some of it. Just let it wash over you. If you are used to the languaging of A Course in Miracles, then let it sink in, sink its teeth into you. Let it ignite the memory of love in you. Think about how holy you must be, from whom the voice of God calls lovingly unto you and your brother, that you may awaken in him the voice that answers to your call. And think how holy he must be, when in him sleeps your own salvation, which his freedom joins. So it's telling us basically that all healing is mutual, that you're not here to ascend on a solo flight to heaven, but you got to take your brother with you. And you might think, great, easy peasy, I'll take my brother with me. I love my brother. Oh, the true mark of a miracle worker is that your brother is your enemy. And Jesus tells us this, pray for your enemy. And here it's saying, don't just pray for your enemy, link arms with him, walk him home. So you might want to think about your enemy or your frenemy or the one you fear or the one you might wish death and, damnation and demise. Maybe you're thinking of him right now. Did I give you enough clues? Or her, think of them. Like actually think of them, because though they seem like a block, they're actually a doorway. You're going to transform this person into a doorway the same way that Viktor Frankl transformed his guard into a brother. It goes on to say in this section, how much you wish he be condemned when God is in him, and never will you know he is in you as well while you attack his chosen home in battle with his host. So it's basically saying, like, as long as you hold somebody outside your heart, you can't get to God. You can't walk to God with a knife in your brother's back. So it gives us a little recipe. It says, regard him gently. Now that he's in your mind and you're thinking about your enemy, your frenemy, the person that agitates you, regard him gently. Look with loving eyes on him who carries Christ within him, and that you may behold his glory and rejoice that heaven is not separate from you. This is what Viktor Frankl did with his guard. And I know that seems like an extreme example, but we have it easy compared to him. We're not being held prisoner, except for maybe by our own thoughts. So in this section, we're being guided not just to see our brother as ourselves, but to see our enemy as ourselves. Not to say my enemy is terrible, I must be terrible, but to say my enemy is beautiful. Can I see my enemy as beautiful so that I can be beautiful? This seems too much to ask. I understand. I understand your mind is like, this is crazy. This is not going to happen in my lifetime. and Christ, who authors this content, obviously was aware of our resistance and obviously was not aware of how terrible that Son of God is, how absolutely horrible that Son of God is, or else we'd never be asked to do this. Or maybe he was aware, because the next section that follows is a rhetorical question that simply says, is this too much to ask? Is this too much to ask? A little trust of him who carries Christ to you. So now not only is this enemy a doorway, but he's actually coming to you to bring Christ to you, to wake up. And then it goes on to say that you may be forgiven all your sins and left without a single one you cherish still. Okay, so when he puts it that way, it kind of feels like it's not too much to ask, even though it really is. So he gives us some counsel after that, because I know the resistance that you might feeling about praying for your enemy or transforming your thoughts around your enemy or your fear thoughts around their enemy. And Christ knows this as well. And so the counsel is, forget not that a shadow held between you and your brother and yourself obscures the face of Christ and the memory of God. And would you trade them for this ancient hate? Would you trade the face of Christ and the memory of God for ancient hatred? The grounds wherein you stand is holy ground. Because of them, and who is them? The face of Christ, the memory of God. Because of them standing with you, they have blessed this with their innocence and their peace. So this shadow held between you and your brother is designed to cast doubt on his or her innocence. That's what the shadow is there for. You might ask, yeah, well, the shadow makes complete sense, and for good reason. They're not innocent. they're destroying the world, or they're destroying my marriage, or they're destroying the lakes, or they're destroying whatever it is that you hold precious. But what is the world but a lovely illusion? What is the world but an interesting scientific experiment? What is the world but a classroom where we're here to remember love so that we'll wake up? As long as the world is bigger than your God, you're going to be fighting miscellaneous battles. Everything here in the sands of time gets washed away by the oceans of time. And you return to your source, an innocent child, as does your brother. I often use this scenario of being an actor, in Hollywood and having, these plays, these dramas that we played out on stage where I was like, you son of a bitch. And they were like, you god, you know what I mean? Like whatever drama was on stage. And then you'd go back to the green room and you'd take off your costume and you'd be like, man, you were really good at being bad. And that's all. You almost convinced me of how terrible you were. And that's the same conversation that happens at the gates of heaven. So these concepts can be very strange for a fearful mind. These concepts can be very strange for a divided mind. But you have healed your mind. You have healed your mind to the degree that you have remembered and are able to remember enough that the poetry, that the philosophy, that the prophecy of Rumi actually makes sense in a world that makes no sense. And we've said this poem before a million times, but God, it's worth repeating. He says, out there beyond the world of right and wrong, there's a field. I'll meet you there, where the souls lay down in the grass and the world is too full to talk about, where ideas and languages and even the phrase each other, it doesn't make any sense. We're trying to make sense of a world that makes no sense. So in this section of the course, it continues as if it was inspired by that poem. It says, the blood of hatred fades to let the grass grow green again and lets the flowers be all white and sparkling in the summer sun. And what was a place of death now becomes a living temple in a world of light because of them. And in their presence, which has lifted holiness again to take its ancient place upon the ancient throne, because of them have miracles sprung up as grass and flowers on the barren ground that hate has scorched and rendered desolate. It makes me think of those concentration camps. And in that desolate place, like one man decided not to hate, even when hate was so warranted. And the Course goes on to say, what hate has wrought, have they undone? Has love undone? And now you stand on ground so holy, heaven leans to join with it. I know it's poetic, but isn't it beautiful? Heaven leans to join with it and make it like itself. The shadow of an ancient hate has gone, and all the blight and withering has passed forever from the land where they have come. And this is how we bring heaven to earth. Again, the moment of Victor with this guard. Heaven on earth, that's what it looks like. Is anything more beautiful than that? Is anything more beautiful than that? So is this the response that I'm holding off? I could be the alchemist who can transform these separations into bridges, into beauty. It goes on to say, what hatred claims is given up to love, and freedom lights up every living thing and lifts it into heaven, where the light grows even brighter as each one comes home. Victor was walking his brother home, Am I willing to walk my brother home? Or am I gonna leave him? Heaven is grateful for the gift of what has been withheld so long. What has been locked is now opened. What has been held apart from light is given up, and the light may shine on it and leave no space nor distance lingering between the light of heaven and the world. And then it says this most beautiful line. It says, the holiest of all spots on earth is where an ancient hatred has become a present love. I love the word present, a present love. You're capable of this. I'm capable of this. You have already demonstrated this. And maybe you will demonstrate it 1,002 more times, because maybe you're just born to walk people home. It goes on to say, they come quickly to the living temple, which is you, where a home for them has been set up. There's no place in heaven holier, and they come to dwell within the temple offered them. This is your mind. This is you. You have made a space in your mind, in your heart. for Christ to come and be reignited and be restored and be remembered. What hatred has released to love becomes the brightest light in heaven's radiance, and all the lights in heaven brighter grow in gratitude for what has been restored. It's no small thing. It's no small thing. And then here's my favorite part, since we're talking about angels. Around you, angels hover lovingly to keep away all darkened thoughts of sin and keep the light where it has entered in. Your footsteps lighten up the world, for where you walk, forgiveness gladly goes with you. No one on earth but offers thanks to one who has restored his home and sheltered him from bitter winters and freezing cold. Have you ever had the experience where you were out in the bitter winter and freezing cold and you're just like, man, I can't wait to get home? And you find a home, and could you remember with the time when you were freezing, your soul was cold as hell against some grievance that you had, and you met up with somebody who offered you a home by offering you a reinterpretation of your situation? We've been talking about home a lot. When you get home, it's miraculous. When you take somebody home, I've had the privilege of watching my sisters, my older sisters, bring in strangers from all walks of life to our home, and to watch people find home in our house, people who never experienced home. And my mom would take in people all the time who didn't have a home. I mean, we had like pregnant teenagers sleeping on our couch. And I grew up with that. I got to see what home could feel like to someone who's never had a home. Now that's in the physical, but in the consciousness, your love transforms home. Your enemy will weep at your feet for your generosity of walking him home. You might not see that in the form, but that's actually what's happening. So I'll close up this section. It says, now is the temple of the living God rebuilt as host again to him by whom it was created, wherein he dwells, his son dwells with him, never separate, and they give thanks that they are welcomed, made at last. Where stood a cross, now stands the risen Christ, and ancient scars are healed within his sight, and ancient miracles have come to bless and to replace an ancient enemy that came to kill. And gentle gratitude do God, the Father, and the Son return to what is theirs and will forever be. And now is the Holy Spirit's purpose done, for they have come at last. This is nothing short of, messengers of light. And it brings us to this awareness of that opportunity of namaste, that you are an agent of light, that you could bring light to the situations that you seem to be baffled by, that I seem to be baffled by when we get lost in our grievances. So I'm going to close with this section. And again, it's lesson 75. It's simply, the light has come. The light has come. You are healed and you can heal. The light has come. You are saved and you can save. You are at peace and you bring peace with you wherever you go. Darkness and turmoil and death have disappeared. The light has come. Today we celebrate the happy ending of your long dream of disaster. Jesus, right? There are no dark dreams now. The light has come. Okay, I want you to really take this in, because this could mean everything or nothing, depending on whether or not you're willing to really receive it. So the light has come. Today, the time of light begins for you and everyone. It's a new era in which a new world is born. The old one has left no trace upon its passing. Today we see a different world because the light has come. Our exercise for today will be happy ones, in which we offer thanks for the passing of the old and the beginning of the new. No shadow from the past remains to darken our sights and hide the world forgiveness offers us. Today we will accept the new world as what we want to see. We will be given what we desire. We will see the light. The light has come. Our longer practice periods will be devoted to looking at the world that our forgiveness shows us. You're going to see the resurrected Christ in everything. You're going to speak the gospel of truth today from this day forward, if you allow that to be the truth for you. This is what we want to see, and only this. Our single purpose makes our goal inevitable. So to want this and to want nothing else. Today, the real world rises before us in gladness, to be seen at last. Sight is given us now that the light has come. We do not want to see the ego's shadow on the world today. We see the light, and in it we see heaven's reflection across the world. Begin the longer practice period today by telling yourself the glad tidings of your release. The light has come. I have forgiven the world. So that's a statement from A Course in Miracles. It was also made into a song by Nada Bone. And I want to invite you to sing the song, because if you say this, you're ready to see a new world. If you sing it, you're ready to be a new world. So, and if you're a shy singer, or if you feel like you can't sing, just speak it. You're all on mute, so you can give yourself the permission of experiencing a little chanting practice. The light has come, I have forgiven the world. So I'll lead it, and join me, and we'll do it for 5 rounds. And this is what it sounds like. This is, and take this as your initiation, as your dedication, as your ordination into your acceptance of this truth. The light has come. The light has come. I have forgiven the world. The light has come. The light has come. I have forgiven the world. The light has come. The light has come. I have forgiven the world. The light has come. The light has come. I have forgiven the world. Think about your enemy. Invite him into that field of no right doing and no wrongdoing. Take his hands in yours. Look him in the eye and sing this to him one last time. The light has come. The light has come. I have forgiven the world. And that's the word.
Rain, thank you. We'll pass to Brianna Vioruglia for the community offering.
Thanks, Lou and Maureen. Namaste to all. Speakeasy is a non-profit virtual spiritual community, and we exist on the generosity of our community members. And we thank you for playing your part and for taking the opportunity to make a donation for today's daily bread. Your generous donations help us bring spiritual leaders, artists, and speakers to Sunday service and keep important conversations going. As you are spiritually fed by today's conversation, I invite you to go within and see what is yours to share. No gift is too small. The donation link is in the chat, as well as on our website, speakeasyspiritualcommunity.com. Thank you, and pass.
Thank you, Brianna. Now it's time for the truly unique experience of Speakeasy Sunday service, our community conversation. This is where we invite you to speak easily, find your voice and your truth, and share your thoughts, inspirations, awareness, and your questions in the community. When you feel called to share a question or comment, please raise your virtual hand, which is located in the Reactions tab at the bottom of your screen. Please also note to leave your video on when doing so, as we want to know and see you. And it's my pleasure to start this very beautiful process here for today, well, of course, that was just so deeply moving. I can barely speak, frankly, but I'm just so grateful to you again for the depth of your commitment to this path and your shining example for me and for all of us. I just feel forgiveness is just the most precious thing in the world and the most powerful thing right now.
Mhm.
And that, we so deeply need to help make peace between the warring factions that are all too often thrown at our face or something that we step into unconsciously. So again, I'm just so grateful for this community and your wisdom and just taking it to the very depth of what every soul is really asked to do here. And I've been in the course group there with Mia in Ireland since August and back this week after a little break. And once again, it's just undone me, at the deepest level in the best possible way. So it's just a privilege to be a part of this process here. Thank you.
Yeah, well, if you want to come undone, this is one really good way to do it. And yeah, forgiveness is so precious, and it's the doorway, I hope that practice gives you an opportunity to take the practice with you. I know with my own unforgiveness opportunities, I was as willing as I was, which at sometimes wasn't very. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to forgive, but I also really loved the story about how terrible they were. And there was some sort of a high, that I was getting from that I might not have been aware of. But it costs so much, it costs so much. It robs you of everything in these places of unforgiveness. I am going to be asked to throw everything on the fire to support that grievance. My friends, my family, my children, my finances. There's no way you can have healthy, bountiful life and also carry these heavy grievances and crucifixions. And some of them have been inherited, your family, generational wounding. So good, fine. You get to do that work. I get to do that work, or else it will repeat itself. I mean, it will continue to repeat itself because because it wants to be healed. It
Yes.
wants to be healed.
Yes. Yes. I mean, I've been showing films about Ireland here the last few months, and you and I have this background in common, and certainly part of why I live here now. And looking at the wind that shakes the barley about the Irish Civil War and Michael Collins, and as you say, these are ancient hatreds.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
one lady talked, Noreen came up with the phrase "juicy resentments."
Hmm.
How we find these ways to judge ourselves and each other, and then feel very entitled to
Yes.
hold on to that resentment and rage, not knowing we're the ones getting poisoned, from seeing through a glass darkly. So it's
Yeah.
so, isn't it, so powerful?
Yeah, I mean, underneath these separations is a web that connects us all, and it's our duty to find those connections. And so even like the example of Viktor Frankl in the Guard, and even in like, we hear this song from the Beatles, like there's no religion, there's no nationalities. We've made all of this up. And we've made all of this up, and then we took it seriously. I'm Irish and you're British, and this is the history, and I'm going to continue to maintain that wall. And we joke on people who are like, I'm going to build a wall, but like we're building walls. We're all building and maintaining walls. I mean, I don't mean to, come down
Yes. Oh
on
yes. No. Very much. Yeah, me too. Absolutely.
am I willing to dismantle that wall? Because in dismantling the wall, I'm not going to lose anything. I'm not going to lose anything. I'm going to gain. I'm going to gain so much. The illusion of scarcity is what keeps us building walls. And there is no scarcity.
Yes. Yes. Yes, as you said, pray for your enemies because you have none. When I offer that quote to friends in discussions about events and things like that,
Mhm.
it shocks them awake. And I hope I remember these, as we're saying, a spiritual practice gives us more reminders, gives me more reminders every day what's true and why that's important, and to wake up and stay awake. It's priceless.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And like, I know I said like you can't go to God with a knife in your brother's back. It's kind of like barnacles on a ship. Like all of these unforgivenesses, they cause a drag in your flow. And we're here to be fluid. We're here to flow. And if you think, well, I feel so stuck here. I feel stuck and stagnant in my finance. I feel stuck and stuck in my romance. All of that has to do with these places that we have decided that we need to be punished, and we project it out into the world through unforgiveness. We keep ourselves very busy doing nothing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if because this is just a dream, like why not experience the full breadth of it instead of these small confined separations that passes for life? What does that mean? That means don't choose a team. Root for the what do I usually say that drives my husband crazy? The tie.
Okay.
Root for the win-win. Root
Yeah.
for the win-win and fight for it and find it.
I haven't thought about angels since I was a kid. And I did look up the course, and I just wanted more of your take on it. How that in the course it's not for saving us from trucks, accidents, and bullets, as sometimes angels have done in the dream. It's more about protecting us from our negative thoughts. So I guess my question would be, how would, without making angels another altar, how would you invite me uh to connect with the angels or my angels?
It's a great question, Joni. I think that if you broke the definition of angel down to messenger of light, you won't have to court them. You will see them and you will be them, right? So anytime you feel into someone's resistance or density of story, like, can you bring light to it? And when you are in a dense position of fear or being stuck, or that, we use this word angel, which is beautiful. And it's, these winged creatures with feathers and pure hearts. You have already entertained angels. I have already entertained angels. Make it less Hallmark and make it more reality.
Yeah. Well, may I just add, Maureen? That's beautiful. Lorna Byrne is a lady here in Ireland. Do you know her books?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so Lorna's been seeing and talking to the angels and God her whole life, and I absolutely believe her and love her. And her message, just to add to what you're saying, is that the angels are hearing our thoughts all the time. But when we speak a prayer out loud or ask for help out loud, then they're given a clear invitation to step in. But I loved your talk about walking each other home, and so moving, talking about the Holocaust and finding compassion for
Yes.
his abuser and torture and all of that. And the forgiveness lessons that we get, are equal to what is necessary, I want to say, for us to find that love in ourselves, for ourselves, because I don't think we can give someone something that we are unwilling to give to ourselves. So
Yeah. Yeah. And here's absolutely 100%. And here's where we get into bypassing is we give, first of all, you're a thought in the mind of God. You never left your source. This idea of angels is just speaking on sort of levels. That's fine. But if you want to speak on that level of understanding, you don't want to make your angels work harder than you. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to ask your angels for miracles, but actually the strength to be that lighter version of yourself, the courage to be that more compassionate version of yourself. Yeah, it's like Joni said, like the TV show Touched by an Angel, or all the times that you've had angelic interventions. This beautiful, but like more than that, more than seeing that, you want to be that. And so I wouldn't court angels. I would claim angelic nature.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Yeah. Somebody else has their hand up. Go ahead, jump in.
Oh, thanks. So this book you're talking about really has me thinking, were they, I mean, I'm going to try to read it as well, but were they able to like have a love between them as friends? It sounds like he helped the guard because the guard needed help. Doesn't sound like the guard opened his heart to him.
Yeah, he did actually open his heart as in this story. Um, Victor talks about how the guard would let him sit closer and he would like give him the extra potato. I mean, it just sounds so horrendous, but and that Victor would feel weird about receiving this extra grace because he didn't want to really receive the extra grace, or he felt I don't know if he did or he didn't want to receive it. I won't make up the story, but that because of his help towards this man also helped him and was kind to him. And because we don't believe in scarcity, I know it didn't come at the cost of anybody else's grace, but there was a response to this. Yeah.
It's just beautiful that within that construct, they were able to make a connection.
And here's the real idea behind that too, is that all love is mutual, whether or not you see it. So if I extend love to you, it's not conditional love that, okay, are you going to give me an extra potato now that I'm kind to you? Which is where we can get into, and then it becomes conditional. What would it be like if I would give you counsel and you still hated me? I know that sounds like martyrdom, but because I don't believe in hate, your absence, your warped ways, that doesn't define me. Like, so that's why Jesus was able to say, like, forgive them, they know not what they do. Like, this isn't going to touch me. Like, this is not going to hold me down. So, I mean, in the optimal idea, and I'm talking optimal idea, like, listen, I know that many of us might not be available for that right now, but it's good to know what the optimal idea is. The optimal idea is unconditional love, right? Because we already know that love always blooms, that can't do anything but bloom, that fear always self-implodes, and that love always blooms. And so I don't have to wait around for love's math. I know I will be cared for when I love others. I know that. I am living in the grace of love. And so I don't even have, and so that means it doesn't matter if I get the potato, but love will echo back at me in some way, in some form, at some time that is most helpful for my spiritual evolution.
I also feel like it comes from starting within.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, it has to start from within, because like if I were in a concentration camp and I hated, I would have nothing to give. But if I stayed curious, which this trained mind of Viktor Frankl was able to do, the one thing he knew they couldn't take from him was his ability to love. You can't take that.
That's right.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Bella Beth.
Good morning. The talk was so in the flow of what I personally have been working with internally. And I had a frustration, and I was like, what should I do with this? And I just kept thinking, the more I think about the frustration, the worse I feel. And when I remember I'm a creator, well, what can I create? And so I wrote a song. And
That's great.
I just wanted to share it because it's like so similar to everything that you've been talking about today. I'm going to probably sing it and say some of the words because I don't know how my voice is this morning, but here's how it goes. I took my frustration and I held it way out here. Why was I holding it so close and so dear? Let me transform this trigger into a real gift. Let me learn its lessons and do it really swift. Let miracles replace all grievances. Let my heart be light and free. Help me let this go to be who I'm here to be. Yes, let miracles replace all grievances. Let me open up and trust to be in the flow of life and love. For me, this is a must. How do we do this? How do we let shit go? We do it with forgiveness and let the happiness flow. It's like opening the dam that fear put in place to the waters of life and to amazing grace. Let miracles replace all grievances. Let my heart be light and free. Help me let this go to be who I'm here to be. Yes, let miracles replace all grievances. Let me open up and trust to be in the flow of life and love. For me, this is a must. Boom.
That's magnificent. That is magnificent. What the heck? How did we get so lucky?
2 days ago, I was
When
like annoyed, and I was like, "Oh, I'm so
that's
frustrated."
what that's what Meryl Streep says is take your broken heart and make some art.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So that's great. Bella and I met, but first started working together because she sang a song and didn't want to, but she sang it anyhow. And then we started a group called Naked Singing, where we would just sit around and sing a cappella, not naked. But we would sing a cappella, and then she would sing a song, and then I would say, "This is how it made me feel." And then I would sing a song, and she would say, "This is how that made me feel." And we wouldn't ever critique each other's singing. We would only say, "This is how it made me feel." Such a beautiful little group that we had. A couple people were in it, and Bella, this is how your song made me feel. It made me feel so happy. It made me feel so excited that you were standing in your spotlight and singing a song that some people would think it's so brave. And I just know you as already so brave. And it was so amazing to feel into your power. Yeah, your power.
Thank you. Thank you. I was running around here preparing for some people to arrive, and I was like, "Oh, this is like my song." And then, got that nudge.
Brilliant. Thank
Yeah.
you. Perfect.
Yeah, if you want to say how it made you feel in the chat, go ahead and put that in the chat. We are here to feel. You can't heal it till you feel it. And you get to feel it, and then it gets to pass, good or bad, good or bad. It's just passing. This too shall pass. This too shall pass.
Yes. Yes. Well, we can't top that, can we? Wasn't that the icing on the cake right there?
We can't top it, but we can echo it, and we can echo it in a prayer. And I think that our dear friend Gigi Laporte is going to pray us out. If you've noticed, the format's a little bit different. Joni played us in with meditation music, and then we had an impromptu song, so maybe that'll happen next week as well. And then we're going to have a practitioner pray us out because we're in the year of prayer. So the service might be a little bit shorter, and so we hope that you do come for the duration of it. You can let us know how you like it and if it works for you. And we're attempting to get people together in person as well. And what that looks like is that we'll have an Easter gathering at my home, and perhaps a toast and jam in May. And Bella and I are setting course with Maiden Voyage again, which is a 7-month coaching program that brings women through the 7 archetypes of the divine feminine, which will start in May and end in November. And what we're guided to do this time is to invite you to bring your own little posse so that you can experience the Zoom offering that we give you, but then also break into small groups with your friends and your families and your sisters and your, siblings. And more will be revealed, but those are just some hot takes to look forward to. I'll pass it to you, Gigi.
Thank you. And I just want to say, doing the maiden voyage changed my life. Talk about angels, right?
Mm.
So let's just go within again and just knowing how God is so good. I know the allness of God, all loving, all giving, always present, always available. And this is its grace. Its grace is given to me and it's given to you. And all we need to do is open our arms to receive it, open our hearts to receive it. And so I know that today, God placed all these angels in front of us. In each little square, each little Zoom square, there were messengers of light. We are messengers of light. And we take that out into the world. We make the world a better place because we shine upon it. I'm so grateful for all the light that shines right here, right now. It is the truest of namaste, right here, right now. I simply say, thank you, God, how great thou art. And I release my word, this prayer, this truth into the law of love, into the light that shines in and through and as each and every one of us. And so it is. And so I say amen to you, angels. Thank you.